You've no doubt heard the advice, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Follow your passion. With hard work and determination, you can live the dream. Create a life of meaning. Find your calling. Blah, 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 blah. And so on. While this is well-intentioned advice, it has caused an entire generation to be misled, confused, and frustrated in their working lives. I mean, I know many have made drastic changes in direction upon hearing this advice, only to find that the elusive dream career remains out of reach. That's ignoring whatever the dream career really is. So, should you do what you love? A lot of people say, pursue your dreams and passions. I think successful people don't actually do that. Instead, they fall in love with what they're doing, which is much more important. I was not one of those people that grew up dreaming of being a data leader. I became an accountant, which is obviously terribly exciting, after doing a fair amount of other stuff along the way. But once I started the job that exposed me to data visualization, I fell in love with the problem solving, using data to tell stories, the creativity, and in particular, the ability to help build a data-led business. Looking back, my job now ties together all of the sorts of things that I am passionate about and good at. From accountancy to life coaching, from endurance challenges to leading teams, I've brought together all the things I love doing. But even when I started out, I had no idea that it would turn out this way. And that's why I want to address the 4 big myths associated with doing what you love. Myth 1, the money will follow. Now, if there's one thing that holds us back from pursuing our passions, it is undoubtedly fear. The fear of not being able to pay the mortgage, or not being able to provide for your family, or even just look after ourselves. It is this fear that keeps us in our comfort zones and ultimately in unfulfilling jobs. I remember when I took a career break from my time at Deloitte and pretty much had a time out, I had many people say, God, I wish I could do what you're doing. My response? It's easy. You quit with nothing to go to. The guaranteed salaries make it hard to walk away, especially if you have more than enough each month. This idea ignores the fact that succeeding in anything requires a great deal of work, and with it, uncertainty. I mean, risk is always part of the equation. For everyone who's made a good living doing something they enjoy, there are countless other equally talented people who were not able to make it or get there either. But this doesn't mean we shouldn't pursue our passions. Far from it. It just means that we need to be very aware that by doing what you love, the money may not follow. It is a long way from being a surefire thing. Myth 2. Just make the leap and you will be fine. They say that building a startup is like jumping off a building and building the plane on the way down. Well, in much the same vein, nothing is certain in life. We hope it will be fine, and we have to accept it might not be. That can often cause us to get stuck in the endless planning cycle, going over and over and over and over again. All the details with a way of trying to avoid a mistake that we may regret one day in the future. It's important to realize that not all will go according to plan. And I hate to break it to you that we are all likely to fail at some point. There is nothing wrong with failure, and we will experience it at one point or another. I mean, I learned it the hard way on a 100-kilometer walk where I had to pull out halfway, feeling like I'd let my team down. We can all learn to be comfortable in the unknown, which, to be honest, is where we live most of the time. Life is uncertain. Whether we take large risks or not, it's not just the leaps that dictate our success, it's also our capacity for blitzing through the unknown and our willingness to keep learning from the off. Now, myth 3, you'll never work a day in your life. It's not unreasonable to say that there are times when you need to do things that you don't want to do. I've just had to do the washing up. Didn't enjoy that particularly. I mean, I love creating strategies and setting directions, but I don't particularly enjoy the admin. I'm not a big fan of all the bureaucracy and paperwork. I would rather just make things happen. These always feel like work. But that's not the only reason doing what you love can feel like work. I mean, There's also the inevitability that tasks can feel different when they become things that we need to do to earn money. When the monetary compensation increases, though, suddenly the money becomes the motivation, and as a result, it feels less enjoyable. I suspect this comes down to freedom. It's fair to say that we tend to enjoy most of the things we feel we're doing entirely by choice. When having a career break, I loved having the ability to go to the British Library to research my startup. I could do it at any time I liked. It was amazing. It didn't feel like work at all. Since work in any form requires commitment that strangles our spontaneity or whims, we need to know from the start that even the most enjoyable paths will have their ups and downs. Myth 4. You can do what you love at any time. This may seem counterintuitive, but I've learned the hard way that it's not always smart to drop everything and follow your passion. That's not to say we should wait for the perfect moment, because the truth is that moment will never happen, but we may need to do some legwork before we can metaphorically dive in. Making your passion your career is likely to need some foundations before you start, whether it be a rainy day fund or reducing your living expenses. Making sure your needs are covered is a great first step. Maslow's hierarchy of needs states that need for shelter and food are the basis of reaching self-actualization, i.e. the top of the pyramid. It's true that we can start incorporating our passions into our lives at any time, but we should just be cognizant of the implications of doing so. I believe that pursuing our passions is akin to self-actualization, and that really means that we are best able to do so when our basic needs are met. But the bottom line remains, not everyone has the luxury of dropping everything and just taking a massive risk. If you have family, you may need to do extensive planning to transition into a new field, or if you live paycheck to paycheck, you may need to overlap your current job with your passion in order to eventually make a living through the latter. So what are our options? Number 1, do what you're good at. What are your strengths? What are the things that seem to come naturally to you or that you can do with little effort? Look for roles that allow you to do those things as much as possible, with opportunities to grow into areas that aren't as strong or as familiar to you. Number 2, do what you're interested in right now. It's completely okay to take a role that aligns with your current interests, even if you can't forecast how that will play out over a career. Remember, it's all data, and I love data. Your next experience will help you inform the one after that, and after that, and after that, and so on. Stop trying to figure out the next 20 years. Simply figure out what's next. Number 3, do what you like. Chances are, if you're doing something that aligns with your strengths and your values, you will be doing something that you like anyway. That's not to say it will all be rainbows and unicorns, though. There's a reason it's called work and not spa, after all. But whether it's the industry or the organisation or the environment you work in or the people you work for or the direction of travel, find something that you like and find a way to do more of it. So, should you follow your passion? Well, I don't think so. I would encourage somebody to do what they're good at, and then the money will follow. In much the same vein as the comedian Steve Martin said, be so good they can't ignore you. And this, I believe, is the crux of the issue. Whether you love what you do or are good at what you do, both take work. For me personally, I would go down the what you're good at street, and I would work hard to be excellent at it. If you have the skills which are rare or not widely available, you could create quite a niche for yourself. This will be rewarding in many senses. I mean, being good means you will excel, and excelling means success, and with success usually comes financial rewards. Obviously, what they are will depend on each situation. But it's finally worth airing a note of caution. Now, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer here, but there is a real danger that if we follow our passion and turn what we love into a job, it can have the unintended consequence of turning a passion into work, and not in a good way. For example, I love to work out. I love learning new techniques and experiencing new fitness methods and stepping out of my own comfort zone. This is all with a view of broadening my perspective and staying on the lifelong learning path. It would be easy to assume then that if fitness was part of my job, then I would be happier. You see, whilst marrying data and fitness is possible, I don't think it would work. You see, at the moment my job is based in the corporate world, and me mixing in sort of workouts into the private equity industry could be a bit of a challenge. But also, I'm fiercely protective over my time that I work out in. You see, fitness is my anchor. It's how I prepare for the day. It's what I do just to block everything else and create some me time. It's my place to reset and prepare for the day. I mean, putting the headphones on, cranking Metallica up to 11, picking something heavy up and putting it down again is my way of staying grounded. If this became my work, it would take on a whole different meaning. Having the added pressure of making it work will lose the reason why I do it in the first place. It is my escape. There is no doubt we all need passions. Passions give a zest for life and a drive to live a life that has meaning. That's what life is all about. Would I like to work in the fitness world? Absolutely. But it would need to be what I'm good at, not necessarily what I love doing. I love lifting weights, but I don't think it would ever be lucrative enough for me to do so. So I would rather focus on using my love of data and fitness to explore the opportunities that find the best mix. That's why I'm focused on loving what I do, turning it into a passion, and ultimately doing great work. And that's it. Following your passion seems like a good idea, but may not always turn out the way you had hoped. This is not a reason not to dream. Just be sensible about what you are shooting for. With that in mind, I would highly recommend this video here where I talk about should you be part of the Great Resignation. Have a watch, as I think you'll find it really, really interesting. But with that, have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.